Well, all right, we can start. Hello, everyone. Hola, Mexico. A todos, todas. Hi, everyone. To all. It's a pleasure for me to give a talk about how to get started with Celo. In this presentation, pretty much first, we're going to welcome all designers, creators, dreamers. Let me open my camera. First, we're going to welcome all designer, creators, dreamers, and we are going to discuss, well, first, my name is Nestor. I'm part of the DevRel team at Celo Foundation, and my handles are 0xNestor in Twitter and Nestor001 in Discord. On today's agenda, we're going to cover pretty much an introduction to Celo, like in one-to-one, what is Celo, why you should build on Celo, the mission, the community, some of the projects that you could see that are being worked in Celo. And then we're gonna have a look into different libraries, different projects on how you can start to build on Celo. So to start, I would like to ask, what is Celo? So Celo is a mobile-first, carbon-negative, and EVM compatible blockchain that makes decentralized financial application accessible to anyone with a mobile phone. So you can ask, okay, what is EVM? What is carbon-negative? What is the difference maybe with carbon neutral? So EVM compatible means that any code that you can develop to deploy on Ethereum, you can deploy it on Celo. Carbon negatives means that Celo emits less than 0 carbon dioxide than the consumed by all the network nodes. So here's the difference with other projects that mention they are carbon neutral. So neutral is like they are equal in the electricity consumed by all the network, but we are Celo are carbon negative, which is pretty much is less than 0. And we are gonna mention a little bit about that. So our mission is to build a financial system that creates the condition for prosperity for everyone. So some statistics is that some metrics is that our average block time is 5 seconds. Our transaction fees are less than a penny, which is awesome. And we are carbon negative specifically, and we have an average of tons offset per month of 65.7 tons. So, and here are some data about what I mean by carbon negative. So we are gonna cover a little bit about ReFi a little bit later, which is a regenerative finance movement at the edge of the Web3 movement. So right now we have 83,333 tons of CO2 offset. And where you can see this is you can see this in the reserve. You can go to reserve.mento, and you can see here, this is our number, right? As among all the other information that we have as the mentor reserve that we are gonna explain later. So if you love Ethereum, you will love Celo. Why? Because you can use pretty much all the Ethereum tools in Celo. So that means that you can use MetaMask, you can use Truffle, Hardhat, and much more. Code solidity means that, as I mentioned, every code that you can develop for Ethereum, you can deploy it on Celo. Easily redeploy, as I mentioned, we are EVM compatible. Then you will maybe ask yourself, okay, but what is different? We are gonna cover right now some unique features that Celo have. For instance, as EVM compatible, we are on-chain governance, and we have gas payable in multiple ERC 20 currencies. And what does that mean? So let's say that you are working in an Ethereum project, right? And then you want to onboard people. So right now, in order to say, I'm going to transfer some stable tokens, let's say DAI, USDC, USDT, whatever token that is stable, you need to pay for that, the gas for that transaction. And for that, that person, in order to transfer, need to have some ether, right? So in that moment, you are adding complexity to a simple thing that is maybe to transfer, I don't know, $100. In Celo, you can pay the transaction in the same stable token approved by the protocol. That means CUSD, Celo Euros, and Celo Real. So with that, in terms of onboarding more people, is so easy to do. Also, we have, as I mentioned, stable currencies. So those are pegged to their corresponding tokens, CUSD, Celo Euros, and Celo Real. That's another feature, part of Mento protocol. Also, we have mobile identity, and this is also huge for Celo. So basically, right now, if we go back also to the example of make it simple for people to use crypto. Let's say that you are gonna share some crypto with a person that just created their first account, right? So you're gonna say to the person, hey, can you share me your public key? And that's a lot of numbers. And for that person, it's gonna be maybe at first complicated, right? But everyone is used to this kind of Venmo application where you just need to share your mobile phone number and you can receive some funds. So Celo creates in a very decentralized way a mapping of phone numbers to public keys to facilitate that experience. So basically, you will first map your public key with a phone number. You are going to verify that you are the owner of both that account, signing some specific messages, and then validating with some codes that you are going to receive in your phone number through SMS, and then there's going to be a map that is going to be decentralized and secure. Once you have that, basically you can use a transfer like Venmo. For people that maybe are not used to Venmo, it's like one application where you are capable of sharing some asset with just the phone number. And related to that is a fast sync of Ultraline clients. So that means that in every wallet, for instance, we're going to mention Valora, which is one of our signature wallets. Every wallet have an Ultralight client. That means that with that capability, the mobile applications can sync in a very fast way with all the nodes in the network. And of course, we are proof of stake. We are proof of stake since the beginning of the network in 2020. Yep, that's a permissionless consensus algorithm running on decentralized infrastructure. So this is more now going into the understanding on the protocol of Celo. So we are gonna mention about how Celo is structured in the foundation. We have the Celo blockchain. So the Celo blockchain is comprehends the blockchain and the software of it. On top of it, we have the Celo core contract, which are all the contracts that dictate how the blockchain behaves. And the sum of those two are the Celo protocol. On top of the Celo protocol are you creating application, either protocols or dApps that are going to interact with both the Celo core contract and the Celo blockchain. Also, we have the nodes. So this is very peculiar for Celo. We have three types of nodes. We have the validators, we have the full nodes, and we have the light clients that I already share a little bit about them. Pretty much the validators are the ones that are going to change the state of the network. Then we have the full nodes that are going to validate the transactions of the validators. And then we have the light clients that are the ones that are going to allow the network to be, will allow the mobile application that you can develop to be very fast and synchronized in a very fast way with the whole blockchain. Also, we have in the Celo blockchain more than 1,000 mission-driven mobile apps have been built. As I mentioned, and we are going to mention after how to install it, we have Aurora, which is this application of Celo that you can use in order to just install, then map your phone number with a public key, and then make it easy for any person in the world just to send assets with a phone number. Also, if you are curious about NFTs, we are very focused on NFT with purpose. So what does that mean? It means that it's not just from a DGen perspective with each node but we are looking into projects that have a purpose, and that could mean beyond just the JPEG culture. Maybe we are looking for a global reach or refi solution that we are gonna maybe talk a little bit about refi, accessible tooling, and much more. If you want to know more about or what NFT with purpose means for us, you can go to nft.celo.org, and here you can see how ideas on what to create, how to collaborate, how to build, what projects are in the network, and so on. We have some projects that the community have worked on, and you can look more here in nftcelo.org. So in a nutshell, there are many projects that have been built and still being built on Celo, and more than 100 projects that have raised funding rounds in the last 12 months. So that's not my idea here. Is like, it's not all just to create one project and that's it. We have many programs that will allow you to continue that project idea and to have funds and to be a successful project in it. So for instance, we have Celo Camp, Polygon, Polychange Capital, and Florida Venture. Also, we are very connected with a lot of alliances, and there are two that is important to mention: Alliance for Prosperity and Climate Collective. So the Climate Collective is an expanding coalition for companies collaborative building at the intersection of Web3 and climate action. So as you might have heard before, in this past month, there is a movement about refi. And here I would like to mention just a little bit about what refi means. So refi is the regenerative finance movement at the edge of Web3, and this is rooted in the theory of generative economics, which explore how create systems that restore and maintain the physical resources essential for human well-being. So usually people think that refi is just climate change, but there are three pillars that is important to mention for you to get ideas on what to build, what to think about your next project. So the first one, of course, is stabilize or climate. The second one is restore or ecosystems. And the third one is about Institute of Justice. So we can have later discuss about what are those three pillars and how maybe we can ideate some projects to go into that refi line, but also how we can support from Celo. So now, in order to build on Celo, we are gonna share some developer resources. So there are many resources that we have. We have the docs in Celo. We have the medium that we have for Celo developers. Also, we have a developer guide that Joe, one of our developer members, have done. So for instance, if you go to doc Celo, so you will have here all the information that you need in order to understand how Celo is structured, the architecture. If you want to read the white paper, we have them here. If you want to understand what wallets are allowed here in Celo, we have MetaMask, Valora, Celo Wallet, mobile wallet, and much more. If you want to understand networks and how nodes work and interoperate between each other, you can see it here, explore it, you name it. Also, we have the medium. So the medium for us is like this blog to share with developer how to address specific use cases. For instance, last month, Hardhat created this loyalty program using meta transactions. So for instance, in Celo is, as I mentioned before, the transaction cost is less than a penny. So it makes a lot of sense to be able to use meta transactions and you pay for that transaction in order to people just to interact with the blockchain and remove that constraints with people to have funds in order to interact with your dApp. And of course, this will vary from case to case, but this is just one example. Also, some other blogs post in order to how to use Celo Composer that we are going to share. Also about upgradable smart contracts, how you can create just you smart contract without, the classic idea that when you are starting into your Web3 project, you are thinking that, okay, this is going to be just one plain Web3 smart contract. And then when you arrive to the decision to say, hey, yeah, we already have some traction in this project, but we have this smart contract and we need to add some functionalities to that one, you then figured out that, oh, well, we didn't thought about an upgettable smart contract approach. So here you can see a extended guideline on how to do it and much more. How to bridge tokens from Celo to other chains via Warhol, you name it. Also, we have this developer guide that I mentioned before. Is this notion that has also a lot of information about network details, the token addresses. For instance, you want to know the specific address of Celo USD in mainnet or in AlphaHorse, which is one of our test networks. You can see it here, our endpoints, for your RPC configuration. We have 4-node Figment, QuickNode, Tatum, and this is a lot of information that you can dissect them, and we are happy to support you if you have any further question. Also, in order to start to make it more tangible, this is how we try to approach what is to build in Web3. So with Celo. So we have here the blockchain in the foundation. On top of it, we have the Celo SDK and the Web3 libraries. So we have the Celo SDK, which is the contract kit for us. So what does that mean? It means that the contract kit is a library that will make you life will be easier for you to just say kit.CUSD address. So basically with that contract kit, when you instantiate into your project, you can get the Celo or Celo Real address, and then you can use it into your project. On top of that, if you are going to work with React, we also have a project called React Celo, which is a library of hooks that will make you even easier to just integrate into your React project and then start to use it for get your balance into your address, to maybe get some information about the transaction, and of course on how to interact with that with your specific smart contract that you have deployed in Celo. So in the environment, aside React, we have for Hardhat, Truffle. You can use any of these frameworks to deploy to create your smart contracts. Also, of course, we have Solidity, VS Code in the browser. You can use Remix, MetaMask, and Chrome and Brave. In the mobile, we have MetaMask, which is the default wallet for anyone. And also we have Valora, which is, as I mentioned, our signature wallet. And here will be your dApp, interacting with both, interacting with the Celo SDK, and in the foundation, the Celo blockchain. So in order to start with Valora, you just need to download that in your marketplace. If you have Android, it will be through Android. If you have iOS, it will be App Store. Once you download that, pretty much you are going to map, as I mentioned, your phone number with your public key, and then you are going to be able to share assets. So for instance, in this one, this person, Jay, have a QR code in order for the other person just to scan it and click on send, and that person will send a specific amount that was mentioned by Jay in this picture. And you, of course, can know much more information about Valora in their website here. Also, now how to connect with MetaMask to Celo. So pretty much you will need to just add a new network. In the new network, you're gonna define if you're gonna connect with the testnet, which is Alpha Horse for developers, or Baklava if you want to do some nodes testing, or if you are gonna connect with the mainnet of Celo, you can do it too. So yeah, you will add your network name, your RPC, and you will define which RPC you want to connect with, the chain ID, and the currency. Of course, once, let's say that you want to start to build, after this call, you will need some funds into your testnet account. So for that, you can go to celo.org/developers/faucet, and then you are going to put your public key there, and they are going to be transferred to that address some assets. We are going to transfer CUSD, Celo Euro, Celo Real, and Celo. So with all, you are pretty much, it's covered all use cases for you to start to interact with both those ERC20s or the purple token. So, and then for transactions, once you interact with a blockchain and change the status of it, you will have a transaction. So for the transactions, you can use Celo Scan and Explore Celo. So for Celo Scan, you can see all the transactions that have been done in the blockchain. And we can have another maybe workshop in order to understand in a more detail on what is different in the transaction object in Celo than, let's say, Ethereum, for instance. But pretty much here, in any transaction, you will have a transaction hash. And then for each transaction hash, you will be able to put it here in the Celo Scan or Explorer, and you will get all the detail about what happened in that transaction. So as I mentioned, you can use Celo Scan and Explore Celo. Then also, of course, if you are starting, maybe you know that you have Remix. In order to start to create your smart contract and just focus on your smart contract, you can use also OpenZeppelin libraries and OpenZeppelin Wizard. which basically, if we go to open link, we start with this tool. Pretty much you are able to say, hey, I want to create one ERC 2021. So I'm gonna create one NFT project, and then I want this to be mintable. I want this to be possible for, I don't know, let's say something wrong happened, and then I want to post the smart contract. You want to make it enumerable. You want to create to use a upgradable pattern. It could be transparent or UPS or no. And then with that, you can open in Remix, and in Remix you can connect Remix also with Celo in order to deploy your smart contract into the network. And that will mean, let's say that you have one idea and you just want to focus onto the development of the smart contract and then figure out the UX part. So this is how you can do it. Also, you can set up a local environment. And we have in the documentation that we have in Celo docs, and we have all a very good explanation of how you can set up your computer if you're using Mac, Windows. Also, we are adding Replit, which is an online environment that you can use also. So yeah, you can see here all the detailed information on how to make that setup in order to be ready to deploy your smart contract. And now we're going to do frameworks, either Truffle or Hardhat. In a nutshell, among other specific things, you will need to focus onto the network in the Truffle config in a Truffle project. So what does that mean? It means that you are going to deploy to the network ID 447887 in AlphaHorse, and you are going to say through which RPC you want to deploy your smart contract to the network. In a nutshell, that would be it. Just compile your smart contract and then migrate, which is deployed to the smart contract. In Hardhat, it's going to be pretty much the same. You are going to define the URL, which is the RPC URL of where the RPC that you are going to use to deploy your smart contract. You are going to define the account that you have in your project. So that means you will put your private key into your project in order to Hardhat to read that and deploy that smart contract to this chain ID. And one thing that is always necessary to mention, because I haven't seen that before, is like you need to use .env in order to never put your private keys into GitHub, because once you deploy that, anyone could read that information, those private keys, and remove your funds. So always first use testnet accounts, never use your production account. And when you are going to use it, be extremely careful about what you're doing. So in Hardhat, once you have this configured, you are just going to run npx hardhat run, and you are going to run one specific script that we are going to see after. And then you're going to define, hey, I want to deploy this to a specific network, which will be either AlphaHorse, Baklava, or Mainnet. So before jumping into code, I would like to know if there are any question right now.
So about the telephone number mapping to private keys, is it? I remember that you can spoof phone numbers and send SMSs on the names of other people. Have you checked if you can spoof a number and use the private key?
Basically, you want to know how it works. Is that the question?
Yeah, just curious if I mean.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Yeah, in a nutshell, I can share. Let me look specifically into one graphic that will be very clear. I'm looking into one specific graphic to explain you. Are you seeing my screen? Hello?
Yes,
All
seeing
right.
it.
All right. Sure. So yeah, I bring this graphic in order to explain you how it works. So first, you're gonna install, let's say, Valora, right? This is the step one. You have your wallet, Valora. Then in the back, through Valora, you're gonna request an attestation through one of the core smart contracts in Celo. So let's say that smart contract, then that smart contract will select randomly a couple of validators. Then the attestation service is going to reveal the phone number to the issuer, which means the Web 2 implementation, let's say Twilio, for instance, and it's going to be revealed just in that part. And the reason is that in order to validate that that wallet owns that phone number, a set of codes are going to be shared to that attestation through SMS, right? And then a couple of SMS are going to be sent to that phone number. And you are going to receive that in your phone. So basically with that, you are saying first, in order to start the project, to start the process, you are signing with your private key that transaction. So that means the public key that says that owns that phone number is legit. And then in step 4, when that phone number receive that those SMS and you validate that via the app, you are verifying that you're not only own that private key and of course the public key, but also you own that phone number. And here in the middle, a more technical point to mention is like we are adding some salt into that phone number when this is added to the map decentralized database of phone numbers and public keys. And why I mentioned that salt into that phone number is because you might think, all right, so if that is happening in that way, that means that I could read any phone numbers and I could, start to do social attacks to those phone numbers because they are going to be public. And no, those are not public. They're there are some encryption mechanism where we add some salt into those phone numbers in order to obscure that information in the process. Was the process clear?
More or less. So that smart contract is part of those core smart contract layer.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Nice. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, one more. So
sure.
It's proof of stake, if I understood correctly.
Yes, correct. Proof of stake.
So validate. What's the requirement to run a validator?
Yeah, good question. Let me see. So here you can see in validators overview in the Celo documentation, and you can see here all the details about how to run a validator, what are the requirements, and so on. So for instance, in order to run a validator in mainnet, let's say, you will see here what are the requirements, how much are you going to be required to stake, how to do it, the hardware requirements, specific hardware requirements, network requirements, And yeah, pretty much all the steps to do it. And if you want to start to run a validator in a testnet, which is in this case will be Baklava, because as I mentioned before, we have two testnets and one main, of course. The two testnets are distributed in two because one is more focused for developers of dApps, and the other is more focused for node validator tests. So Baklava is for node validators, and Alpha Horse is for dApp validators. So you can see here specific information about what are those requirements.
Okay.
Was that clear?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Sure.
I have
Any other
I
questions?
have more questions. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
What kind of assets, or what does the Celo Foundation have that makes it CO2 negative? Like, how do you do that?
You can see here all the distribution on this CO2 that we have.
And sorry, I don't know those assets. Are these assets some like proof of CO2, or what, like, how does it work?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So one thing is that we are proof of stake as a consensus mechanism. So another thing is that we are carbon negative that I mentioned before. So carbon negative means that all the consumption in the network is pretty much we have more offset of carbon dioxide than what we are consuming in all the network. So that is what makes us carbon negative instead of, for instance, carbon neutral, which is maybe 1-to-1. Yeah, okay. And here you can see a very detailed distribution on all the assets that we have. So yeah, thanks for the question. Is there any other question?
Regarding the CO2, did the Celo Foundation consider like spending money on buying, I don't know, rainforest or in some like real life way ensuring I don't know, the environmental part of it?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned before. Our alliances, and for instance, we are part of Climate Collective. So in Climate Collective, you will read information about the question you're doing, and this is also, as I mentioned before, part of a refi approach that I mentioned before also. So yeah, if you want to know more information regarding, I don't know, projects that have been launched on Celo regarding refi, you have, for instance, Toucan project that, I don't know, we could discuss into another call. But yeah, just to mention, Celo is very focused, of course, into refi approach. So that's why I mentioned the concept of refi before, and the kind of the three pillars that refi comprehends. So yeah, in a nutshell, yeah, if you have a refi oriented project, you are more than welcome, and we are very excited for that kind of projects in our network.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions to go to code? No? All right, so we are gonna go to the Celo Composer. We can look at here. Celo Composer is one working project that we are continually working on that pretty much want to make a developer life easier. How? by creating many sub projects into the Celo Composer. So basically, our idea is like you have one specific idea or of our next Celo project, and then you say, hey, you know, maybe this application I want to do it in Flutter, or maybe I want to use React Native, or I don't know, maybe I want to use React app. And then you say, oh, well, maybe I can use a Softgraph, you know, and for all those ideas, we have all that covered. So pretty much you are just gonna clone that project. And from then you're gonna be able to say, hey, you know, I just want to work on a Flutter project with Softgraph, for instance. So you're gonna remove React App and React Native, right? And you're gonna have these two projects that the Hardhat one is gonna hold your smart contracts. The Flutter app will be the front end in your app, and the Softgraph is gonna create the graph protocol. So to go to code, this is gonna be the project that you are gonna download. And as I mentioned before, we will have Flutter, Hardhat, React Native app, Softgraph. We are constantly working into add more templates. So if you have one requirement, let's say, hey, it will be awesome to have, I don't know, a project that use Tailwind. We can do it here. We are testing right now that. And yeah, so how the project is structured. This is a monorepo, and then in the monorepo, you will have, of course, in the packages, first, your Hardhat project that where you are gonna create your smart contract. So let's say that you want to use an Oracle, or you want to use a simple storage in order to read and change a variable number, or any other project, any other smart contract that you want to create, you can create that one here in contracts. So once that's ready, you will have to, there's a shot. Oh, all right. Let me see. Is that better now? So here in the Hardhat, we have all the contracts that you can create here. Then once you're ready, of course, after put into your .env that I mentioned before, you need to use .env as a package. It's very required, and always be careful about never put your private key into your GitHub. Then you are gonna first, let's say, the configuration of Hardhat. So here we are gonna configure. We are gonna configure our networks. We have local networks, and of course, we can configure here all the networks that we want. For instance, alpha horrors or mainnet. So in that object, we are going to use our RPC, which is going to be the URL, then the account, which will read that information from .env, which is going to be your private key, and also the chain ID. Of course, that chain ID will vary from chain to chain. So for alpha horse is 44787, and for mainnet is 42220. That would be all about the configuration. So be very specific about the chains that you're gonna use, and then you're gonna check your deploy script, which is basically one script that you're gonna use in order to read one specific smart contract from your contracts folder, and then say, hey, you know, I want to deploy this. If you're gonna use some arguments into that smart contract, you can pass it here. Pretty much, yeah, you're gonna deploy your smart contract. Once that's ready, you can use whatever you want, let's say Flutter or React Native or Softgraph, and you can work on your React application. So for instance, here is you will need to handle the next configuration into your React application. In this one important point to mention is like, this is a progressive web application. What does that mean? It means that you can cache that application into your browser, which will allow you to have a better experience with your user in the context of mobile phones. Also, if we want to dissect the application and what libraries are you gonna be able to use, we can go to the root. Of course, in the document is, you know, a normal Next.js React application. Then in app, points to mention is the Celo provider, which comes from Celo, React Celo, which is this wrap that I mentioned before. So you have the Celo blockchain, then you have Contract Kit, and then on top of Contract Kit, you have Celo React. So that means that Celo React will have a set of hooks that will development process much more easier for you to, you know, connect to with the blockchain and interact with it. So for instance, we are wrapping our all our application with the Celo provider, and here we are gonna pass the description of all the application, your name, description, URL, icon, and then you're gonna define the network. Which network are you gonna connect with? In this case, we are using AlphaHorse, and then yeah, in a nutshell, all that will wrap your main component, which is gonna be all the pages that you are gonna develop into your application. So for instance, we are gonna go here into the index part. And in the index part, we have here all the app layout. So we are seeing here that we are using an app layout, and we can go to the app layout. So we can look, hey, where is app layout? App layout comes from components layout. So we can go here, components layout, app layout, and then we can see here that it's a wrap. Then we have the header, the meta information, of course, all the content on our pages, and then the footer. So for instance, we can see, we are curious about, hey, you know, what about the header, where all the information about how you can connect with the blockchain should be. So you can go to header. So in header, we are gonna see here Celo again. So in Celo is from React Celo. So with that, we are gonna be able to get information about the address, about the network, about how to connect and how to destroy that connection. Yeah, pretty much we're saying here, hey, you know, if you have one object in the address, then please put the truncated version of the address in the header, and then and then also a button for disconnect. And if you have non-address, which means that the object is not in the browser, so please put this button of connect wallet in order for you to be able to call this function to connect with any wallet. Could be Valora, could be MetaMask configured with the Celo blockchain. And then you're gonna send that in a very beautiful app bar. And that will be all in account details, which is the object that I described here. All right, so once we have all our header in the app layout, as I mentioned, we could add a footer, and we could add here whatever we want. we will be able to understand this part in the index when we see app layout. So, all right, we have first a wrap into all our application that will be the provider. Then inside that, we will have a header. And then in the body, we will define whatever we want. And for instance, here, we are going to be able to read any information. In this case, we are reading information about prices of Celo and also its interaction. We're going to be use Redstone, which is one oracle that is reading information from the oracles to get the price of Celo, Celo Real, and so on. Well, I could continue explaining all the hooks, all the components, but pretty much the idea of it is for you to be able to say, hey, you know, I want to use this information to get prices from oracles. I want to use maybe just the header of this project in order to just, you know, just clone it, just have your React project and say, I just want to use the header in order to connect with the smart contract. And then I want to interact with my own smart contract. So pretty much you are pretty much capable of doing that with all these templates. Also, we have React Native if you want to do it. We have Softgraph if you want a more detailed example about how to use or one example of Softgraph. I have here another project that I could mention here. This one, I made it into to explain how you can create a software for Celo Ponds, which is one of the NFT projects in the Celo network. So you can try that project here. I need to sign in all that. You can use any query, you can filter, and this is all the instruction on how you can deploy it. Pretty much very straightforward. And yeah, this is one example about it. Also, if you want, if you all want, I could do another workshop in order to understand in the very details how Celo transactions differ from Ethereum, because the object in the Celo transaction are different. And one cool thing, I think, to mention here is that this Celo transaction is in both English and Spanish. So all the instructions are in both languages. And here we can see all the differences between, you know, a Celo object and an Ethereum object in the context of transactions. I could do it. I could do that workshop too. If not, you can just check it, this one, and you have all the instructions there. And also, just to end then this, I mentioned React Celo and how you can use it. So pretty much this is a UX perspective of React Celo. So yeah, pretty much you can connect with your wallet. In this case, I'm using AlphaHorse, and you are gonna be able to sign transactions, to read from the smart contract. You are able also to sign type data, to sign to test assigned personnel. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This project, for instance, React Celo is used by Celo Tracker, Mobius Money. So all these are different projects that are using this library, React Celo. So yeah, I would like to know if you have any other question, maybe some specific question about how it works, how you can clone it, how you can make it work. But in the nutshell, was that you can use Celo Composer define what specifically you want, use the Hardhat project and any other project that you want here, let's say React app, and you can make it work. Very simple. In just a few minutes, you will have your base project running on Celo. Do you have some questions, guys? Folks?
I think there are no more questions here, but thank you, Nestor, so much for your presentation. Yeah, Nestor, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And yeah, it's a pity we couldn't have you here in person, but yeah, it was really cool insights following your presentation.
Yeah.
Daniel, maybe,
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to me. And please don't hesitate to reach me if you have any question regarding the Celo Composer, regarding any of the libraries on, and also if you want maybe just to chat about ideation of your project, we're more than open in from the DevRel team to support your ideas.
Yeah, at 60 or yeah. Yeah. No, you can. Thank you, Nestor. See you in a bit.
All right.